Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, welcome back to Farafina Show. We just got done with one extraordinary program, and another one has just started. As we always say, Sundays are fun days, and this is one of the days that we're going to have tonight. With me in the studio here to discuss one very important issue in the Liberian community, or maybe in the immigrant community in the United States of America, is the DED program, which of course has been something that many people are really worried about, because the President of the United States, His Excellency President Donald J. Trump, gave a grace period of 1 year. That was last year in March. And he said that he was not going to extend this program anymore. But there were always hope. People have been fighting behind the scene. One of those that have been really fighting is the Executive Director of African Immigrant Services in Minnesota here, Abdullah Kiatamba. And Mr. Kiatamba is here with us in the studio today. He's going to be talking to you about the progress that have been made, where we are right now, and where we're heading to. So once again, thank you, and thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much. I'm happy to be here. I'm grateful for the invitation.
All right, great. So there are a lot of people who know about DED. There are some who don't still know about DED, who still want to know more about TPS and many of those. So can you tell us a bit about DED?
So deferred enforced departure, DED, is a status, a temporary status that can only be approved by the President of the United States. That is an exclusive reserve of the President of the United States. And so he makes often an annual determination as to whether people for this country can go back. The different circumstances under which they made that determination. So from 1991 was TPS and began to move into extended, and then went on to DED. And so DED at this point, Liberians had the only groups that are on DED at this point. A lot of different DEDs have them canceled. TPS, on the other hand, is temporary protected status, mostly for humanitarian disaster, the catastrophe, San Salvador, there's an earthquake somewhere, and citizens of that country, kind of catastrophe. So it has some congressional power. It also has some executive power that the executive can make a decision on. One thing about DED, if TPS, if the deadline is reaching and there's no action, it can automatically renew itself. Unlike DED, it has to have a presidential approval. Quite recently, we're hearing about the TPS and DED debate. But Liberians, the last time they were on TPS was on Ebola TPS, quite recently, which began in November 2014 because of Ebola, and went up to November 2016. And then they were extended to May 21st, 2017. So that TPS status has expired. Last year, President Trump, after a series of campaigns, congressional signatures, terminated the program itself, but extended the status for 1 more year, which some folks call wind down, whatever it is. But allow people to stay and work here for 1 more year. And so at the end of March, that status would have expired. So basically just a quick background for those who,
All right, so that was very important, and good to know that. So last year you had a message which was "We will win," and everybody was very impressed by that message. So are we still winning though?
Well, I think our goal is to win. Our goal is to keep winning, but to keep winning requires to take certain actions to keep winning. And I think that is what we need to do. I think last year we had a different kind of campaign. It was most intense. It was more robust. It was had a lot of momentum. This year doesn't seem like the same amount of energy, same amount of momentum, same amount of intensity is in this year campaign, because there are so many things at stake and there's so much delays. One of those delays was in the midterm elections. People were concerned about, because different folks controlling Congress would determine different strategy. So that was important for people to know who was controlling Congress. And so we know the Democrats are controlling Congress. our hope was last year we had about 45 signatures from Congress to the President of the United States, President Trump, that at least elicited his response by extending the status, although he terminated DD itself. The conditions, the reason why he did that was that things have improved in Liberia. But the conditions why they extended DD, the country is not ready to absorb a massive influx of people from the diaspora. And I think that is another angle we are asking the government of Liberia to make that case to State Department and say, while these are people who love to welcome them, but the country does not have the capacity to absorb that number of people into the country at one point in a massive way. Two, we have separation of families. Some of their kids are American citizens. These kids are in the school system. We're going to manage these kids. There'll be a lot of traumatic experiences. There'll be a lot of challenges. And there'll be so much different things. Some of the kids will get into trouble, into the criminal justice system because they don't have parental guidance. So there's so much different problem. And so all of that, and some of these people are actually paying taxes in our communities. So they're helping to increase the number of the tax base of those communities. Some of their kids are Marines, are soldiers, are contributing, are teachers, a lot of different important things that are doing. So we think it's important for them to consider all of that. Now, what do we do next? We think Dear Colleague letter is one of the effective ways by which we push President Trump to approve, to do what we wanted him to do last year. We think one way we're trying to focus on. The second aspect is the current deal that is taking place. We want the Democrats to include TPS and DD for Liberians. Now, Liberia is not currently on the TPS status because our TPS expired.
That was the Ebola one, right?
Ebola one 2017.
Okay.
So the current people on TPS, Liberia is not included. So how can we push and say, look, these people are still being affected, and we can look at retroactive application of their status to make sure they fit in this category. The other aspect is DD. Go ahead.
No, because something came up yesterday, and I just wanted to touch on that since you said that your hope was last year to make sure that President Trump approves what you guys want him to do. And there was a breaking news yesterday when it was said that the president was offering 3 years extension for, the border funding. And you wrote on Facebook something that says, Trump's TPS or DACA deal isn't good for our people on DED and expired Ebola TPS. It's really, really bad. Don't be bamboozled. But then here was my problem. So a few hours later, there was a post by Erasmus William, the chairman of the Immigration Committee of Liberians in Minnesota here. He also said, DED and TPS, your days of struggling will end very soon. God is in control. So when Erasmus said that, somebody then posted under it saying, are you saying this because of what the president said? He said, yes. So he somehow, from my way of thinking, is telling us that it is a good thing. And you are telling us that it is not a good thing. So how do we reconcile that?
So if I tell you something is good, and I don't tell you what is good about it, then it's not good enough.
Okay.
If I tell you this stuff is good, I can say what makes it good, or what makes this stuff good. So I think I don't want to respond to individual because sometimes it get to be misinterpreted as responding to the person. But he said God is in control. So when somebody called God, he's me. I'm praying for God to do that what I want. So I will treat it that way. I think it's a prayer. My own was a policy analysis, what I see. So if the president is making an offer and does not include your name, you can celebrate. You can say, oh, I got a job when you're not being made an offer. They say TPS, current TPS holder. That language say current TPS holder. We are not among
and Liberia's TPS has expired.
It has expired, 2017. So this would be almost going to 2 years, current TPS holder. If that language changes to say all TPS, then we fall under that category, right? The second aspect is DED. DED is not even mentioned in this negotiation because there's only one country in the entire United States on DED, it's Liberia. So and DED is not a congressional stuff. Only the president of the United States can do it. This is outside Congress. So except or language that say all those who are on temporary legal status, So that will include DD automatically. But until then, if the language is not broad enough, it's not big enough, that created a bigger tent, I cannot assume that they're talking to me. You understand what I'm saying? So the guy wearing a black shoe, I say, oh, it's me. You know what I'm saying? That's an assumption. So at this point right now, there is nothing in it. The second aspect is this is an offer that has not been accepted. Even if that offer is accepted, the Democrat will try to tweak it around and make some adjustment. And then there'll be an offer, there'll be counter offer, and then there'll be a final agreement.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question.
Right.
What if that adjustment is not made? Like the Democrats go on to accept this deal, which you think is not good for you, and they do not make the adjustment. Do we have another step to take?
Well, then we ask for, so our goal now is to call our congressional people.
Yeah.
Please include Liberian DED, Liberian TPS in your negotiation. That's what we need to do because the negotiation is still going on. But let's come back to the negotiation. Even if that negotiation had been approved, there's something bad about it.
Yeah.
The increased border patrol, some of the immigration cases, they will slash out some of the requirement for asylum, for example.
Yeah.
They will cost so much from immigration processes. It'll be something. They will accelerate deportation really fast. So basically, they allow for 5% to come into the room, but also allow for 5% to leave quickly out of the room. So if you look at that, it's actually zero. So they say we're going to increase some of the requirement we got for asylum, we're going to change it. The way you're going to apply for asylum, we're going to change everything. Two, to process this application will be more complicated than this. Three, we increase deportation force by multiplied deportation force. So the number of people from our community that will be deported will be higher, will be increased, although other people will benefit from it. So that is why a deal that does not work for you need to say clearly it does not work for them. Now, if something changes, then we celebrate. But I think it's important for us to be honest with ourselves and be realistic. Because when people hear TPS, they say, oh, everybody's a TPS. No. And I think it is important for us to remember that this is not the reality we have right now.
Okay. Yeah. And once again, if you just join us, this is Farafina Show, and our today's topic is about DED, the extension of DED, or maybe giving citizenship to those that are on DED and TPS. You just spoke of something. You said that our goal is to call our congressional people. And this is something that happened last year. We saw some congressmen like Eric Paulson, who was with you guys in this fight. He spoke highly of you guys. He said that he will do anything to make sure that it was extended, which of course happened, and he promised to do better. But now, some of them have lost their seats during this gone election in November. So how is your connection with those who just took, those parts like Dean Phillips and others? Are they in support of this again?
So I think all the Minnesota Democratic congressional delegations support the Liberian cause.
Yeah, but Eric Paulson was not a Democrat, right?
I agree.
Yeah.
So all of them support it. So DFL, we didn't have to go back to DFL. It hasn't do anything. We're concerned about Eric Paulson because he was the only Republican in the entire country, not only in Minnesota, that stepped up. So he became a different Republican. Two, the current thing we need to achieve, we cannot do with Democrats at all. So we got a Republican in Minnesota called Tom Emmer. Tom Emmer, we met Tom Emmer, not only Eric Paulson, we met Tom Emmer. Tom Emmer said, I need to get more information to support. The distinction was that Eric Paulson has stepped up in a different way. And two, you had a Republican president. You need a Republican to open the doors. One thing people did not understand about the Eric Paulson scenario was that Eric Paulson had a long history with the Liberian community before this immigration campaign. And that history was good enough. So he was emotionally committed to the community. We have a lot of Democrats, but they don't have that kind of emotional connections with, except Keith Allison. But most of them do not have that kind of strong. Eric Paulson was a member of the Old Timers Sports Association. It's a Liberian organization. So Eric Paulson was already deeply rooted in the community. So he saw the issue deeper than anybody would see it. He saw it personal because his friends were on it. He was playing soccer with people who were directly affected by it. He was looking at it differently from many people looking at it. But I think the central question you asked is about, I think we are convinced that all of the Democrats would already said they support our process. We don't have question about that. Even when we're talking to Eric Paulson, Global was supporting our work. Keith Allison was doing that. Tim Moss was doing that. Betty McCollum was doing that. Tina Smith was supporting us. So a whole host of Democrats were already supporting them.
All right.
But they were not a challenge.
Right? I want to cut you off quickly. We want to take a quick break, and after this break, we will have the chairman of the Immigration Committee of Liberians in Minnesota here, Erasmus William, joining us to make this even better. Like I said, Sundays are fun days, and we'll make this fun. All right, let's take this quick break. We will be back. All right, All right, welcome back, everyone, and once again, thanks to all of you for joining us live today on Farafina Show to discuss DED, TPS, and many other issues circulating the Liberian community in Minnesota and in the United States as well. So with me, as we said earlier, Abdullah Kiatamba has been here, the Executive Director of African Immigrant Services in Minnesota. And joining us right now is the Chairman of the Immigration Committee of Liberians in Minnesota, Erasmus William. These two gentlemen have been fighting a lot to make sure that those that are on DED do not just get extension, but they stay in the United States permanently to have, their citizenship, so they can decide whenever they want to go to their countries, whenever they want to come back, instead of being in that fear of having, their documents expired. So you have said a lot. I know Erasmus did not hear what you said. Some of the things that we discussed was the support of the Congress. That is where we were when you said that Eric Paulson was the only Republican that stepped up to make sure that DED was extended. And I asked you, Eric Paulson is gone, who do we have now? Because you said you need more than Democrats to make sure that this process goes through. So if Eric Paulson was the only person who helped you when he was, in Congress, and now that he's gone, but you need more than Eric Paulson. You did meet Paul Ryan and others. So who do we depend on now, and how do you want to make sure that you get more people?
So right now, Eric Paulson was exceptional, but did not mean we have a lot more support. We had a Democrat congressional delegation. We had folks from Congress and in the U.S. Senate. So we have that. We had a lobbying day at Congress. We got a lot more signatures. We got about 45 signatures that went to the president, about 200 signatures from across the country from faith leaders, making a compelling case why DD should be extended. So we had a lot of forces. We had a powerful media narrative that told the stories of people who were contributing to their local communities, and they were doing wonderful things and amazing things. So we had a package of good ideas, good strategy that worked across the country. Now, this time around, it's a complicated thing for two reasons. One is to restore the termination itself and to extend the status. Last year, we just needed an extension of the status. This time around, a negotiation has led to a government shutdown. Are we so important as to be prioritized as part of that negotiation? Our job now is to convince those who already agreed. All the Minnesota DFL have agreed that we want to support this process. Now, what do we want from them? Our ask is simple. What we want you to do, send our dear colleague letter, make sure every negotiation, those on DED and TPS are included. Now, our relationship then is to hold them and say, okay, you say you're going to support us, but this is what support means. This support will make sure that we achieve our goal. If we don't get the kind of support, then your earlier commitment, you're not living up to your commitment. So our goal is to make a case why this is important, that do not forget us. Because in the earlier DACA arrangement in 2018 that fell apart, there were broad languages that covered those on TPS and DED. In this arrangement, we're not clear about these things are clearly stated. So our goal is to tell our congressional folks in Minnesota, look, step up, include us in your negotiation. You have so much power, you have so much influence, include us in your negotiation. But meanwhile, send a letter to the president that extend DED, because DED may not be included in word because of the nature of the legal relief called DED. It is a presidential power that is exercised. And so that's what we are saying.
Okay.
But we want to warn our people not to celebrate
a
victory you have not won.
That's one thing I was going to come to.
Don't celebrate a victory you have not won.
That brings me back to the statement that I made earlier about Erasmus. Both of you guys posted something on social media, and like I told you earlier, my thinking was that there was a contradiction. maybe you might explain it to me to make me understand. When you posted that DED and TPS, your days of struggling will end soon. God is in control. And Abdullah Kiatamba posted something else saying Trump's TPS or DACA deal is in good enough for our people. On DED and expired of Ebola TPS, it's really, really bad. Don't be bamboozled. So somebody asked you, are you saying that because of what the president said? And you say yes.
No.
So, you know,
So
replying to people individually will be hard, but
Okay.
if you can make us understand that clearly here, so at least, you know, that doubt can be clear. What did you mean?
Well, first of all, thank you for the invite on the show. I clearly appreciate it, and I apologize for the little delay.
Okay.
But I want to say that I'm strong about the statement that I posted on Facebook page. Okay, one, I'm a strong believer of God. Everything that I do, I put God first. And I'm very passionate and hopeful. Looking at President Trump, if President Trump, of all people, can propose an extension at his own will and negotiation, that automatically presents a hope. We know everything he's presenting is going to be shut down, rejected, and dead upon arrival. But what that tells us is, if our advocacy can lead to our plight being included in a negotiation, that is the hope that
Yeah, but
we are
this is
talking
our
about.
problem, though, about that hope. If
So-
two persons are fighting for the same cause, and one is saying that this is not good, the other person says this is good, who do we go by?
So this is it.
Yeah.
The hope here is that the DED, the TPS, for the fact that Trump is recommending extension as part of his proposal, right? He's recommending extension as part of his proposal. We cannot use his recommendation, which I believe his recommendation is no good. It's a time that he's trying to buy to build a wall and ship everybody back home. But it put him in a position where nobody expected Trump to propose anything about extension.
Yeah.
Nobody, gave him the main track record. So it put in a position, okay, that means we can get more. So for me, it was an eye-opener for us. It means there is something more there. So what he's proposing is not what we are celebrating. But what we take to the table as a comeback negotiation is what we are embracing. But for the fact that he made a statement,
That
it
alone
brings
was
hope.
hopeful. Okay.
So the hope there is no contradiction.
Yeah. All right. If you just
Kiatamba comment is strictly on Trump statement that he made,
yeah.
which is not good. I don't believe in Trump's statement. But if Trump can make that statement, it means I get hope. So if you have a situation where somebody never talk to you, then one day they wake up, they say they can't talk to you, but they ask you for somebody's number. The person never speak to you, but today they decide to ask you for somebody else's number. You're like, okay. It means that one day that person will talk to you. So now, if we fight hard and get our issues on the table for negotiation with the Democrat and come back with what we want, that's what Trump wants. Okay? But we know what we want. So if we make sure we include our thing and Democrat can present it, we can get an easy ride. And we're talking about the government not going to be shut down for long. And the hope is, if we get our plight there, the struggle that lasted for decades could end soon. And that's why we must all remain prayerful, hopeful,
all right.
and be a part of every part of the immigration.
So let's do this. Actually, if you just join us, this is Farafina Show once again at the CCS Create Studio, and today we are discussing DED, TPS, and many more. And very soon we'll be going to Akim, Trokon, and Vatango to talk to our live viewing audience, so they can also ask you guys questions, give suggestions if they have. But before we do that, because Akim is going to focus one camera on the audience. You said we know what we want. What do you guys want?
Right, right now, like my brother Kiatamba have said, we want one for the Democrat to sign up to the Dear Colleague letter.
Yeah.
Two, we want them to include DED, TPS, or TPS on all of the ongoing negotiation currently due to the shutdown, okay, and to also find a permanent status for our people. It's very simple. They will include, finding a permanent status will include writing a direct letter to President Trump, asking him to reinstate and extend DED. Again, we just want our people to be able to live here safe and legally. We don't want people afraid to call the police because they don't have status and they are afraid that police may turn them over to ICE. It's getting dangerous. This is more serious and more important than ever in the history of this struggle.
Okay. So before we go to Kiatamba, Akim, any questions so far from any of the viewers?
Yeah, I think the viewers here, we have a lot of people in the audience today who would like to ask questions. Anyway, before we turn the mic word to our guests here, you are welcome to the Farafina Show. This is Abdullah Kiatamba in studio and Erasmus, along with our host, Mohamed Donzo. The topic for discussion today is the DED and the TPS process. We know that we Liberians and other nationalities were being affected. But looking at the Liberian community, there are a lot of rumors going around and a lot of things to be discussed today. But for the sake of time, I'm not going to hold nobody up. Do anybody in the audience have a question? I'll start with my man, Yaya.
Oh, no, I came here. My question here is for Erasmus. A lot of things that I hear you saying was all good ideas. But I never heard anything about implementation. How do you intend to implement these ideas? You came up with a lot of ideas, but how do you intend to implement them?
Okay. So, okay, I guess.
Yeah, you can go ahead and
Okay.
answer that question.
So, this is it. Implementation. It takes you, it takes me, and it takes the entire community. One, currently what we are doing today, we are having a meeting at 5:30 at the OLM office to discuss the planning. That's one. Two, as part of the planning process, we have a rally coming up, okay, March 22nd at the state capitol, where we are encouraging, February 22nd at the state capitol, where we are encouraging all Liberians to be a part. We are encouraging you that day, don't send your children to school. We want the Liberian impact to be felt at all levels of our profession, in schools, at our work, again, at all levels. Now, currently with respect to the change of the urgency around the negotiation, okay, if you are talking about that action, we have immediately contacted the congressional leaders' offices, okay, to make a plea to them so that, to make sure our issue is there. Today's meeting, okay, will include conversation around doing a robo or a phone bank the next week, because we want when people come out to work after Martin Luther King birthday, when they come out to work, they will meet messages all on their phone. Okay, right now, Joel and some team from the St. Cloud State University, they are doing some research on a link that we can be able to send around. You put in your zip code, you find your congressman, and you call and leave message on that congressman's phone, telling them, and the message will give you the sheet with the message on it. Okay, that's what we're doing. So it take you, it take me. Now, one thing important, I live in Brooklyn Park. I can go call Betty McCollum that represent people that way on the other side. By the time I call my zip code, I'm not in her constituency, so I'm not a voting black. So we need you to spread the word Liberian that live in Rochester, to help them identify their representative so they can make that call. So when they come to work, they can know that, okay, this is serious. And we're trying to push, that's why Kiatamba is here, we're trying to push this so it can go nationwide. He's the National Vice Chairman on Immigration at the ULA level. Okay? So we are not just talking, but we are working. And we are hoping that everybody can get involved, because it will not get done if you don't play a role.
Okay, yep, let's go to the audience again. We have another question coming from the chairman of the Federation of Liberian, the chairman of the board of directors of the Federation of Liberian Mandingo Associations in the United States of America, Honorable Mohamed Abdullah. So, Mr. Dollar, you may go on.
Thank you very much. I want to thank you. This is very interactive. But I know Erasmus said we are hopeful. We are all hopeful. That's why we are here. But I beg to differ with you. You as leader of this movement, if you come out to say what you posted on your Facebook page, it's encouraging, but that's not the reality. So we have to be honest with our community member. We have to tell them what is happening so it can encourage people to come out. Because number one, according to Brother Abdullah Kiatamba, Liberia is not included on this list. And now you trying to interpret what the president said. And I think everyone are listening to what he said. So what is your message now? What can you tell us about what is on your post on Facebook, and what can you tell this community now so people can come out? Because you are a leader. We follow you guys, and you are doing very good. But your post yesterday does not represent what the president said, to be very honest with you. So can you tell us now what did the president say and what the meaning of your post? Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. And I think we have another question, right, from Bro Amara, the former VPO of FEMUSA also. So we'll just address them at once. So,
thank you very much. And I want to give the two gentlemen, Mr. Kiatamba and also Erasmus, thank you so much. Congratulations for your effort. I think we're all here for the same reason. We care for our people. We want to make sure that they stay here permanently. I understand there are about 10 countries involved in this whole temporary protected status. And I want to understand, as leaders of this community, have you reached out to the other 10 countries leaders to see what they are doing in support of their people staying here? And if not, I would strongly suggest that with everything that you're doing here, I think, coming together as one, especially the countries that are facing the same problem, would be the greatest thing that you can do, and you have more power instead of one country's represent. I know it's good, we have to represent our people, but I also want to make sure that you people are doing all that you can to get in contact with the rest of the countries. And I don't know if you have, so I want you to answer that question. Have you get in contact with them to see what they are doing? Number two, how many congressmen have you really called since the election was over? Are you planning to do that? Thank you.
all right, and can those questions be answered by any of them?
Yeah,
so that we don't really give Erasmus all the hard time here. All right, so address Mohammed Dollars question, and then I'd like to take care of the other one.
My brother and friend, Brother Dolly, again, and I urge you all to go back to what President Trump said, okay? There are countries that were listed specifically, and the president also said that to all African nations, okay? Again, it was in his own word. You go back to the statement, it's dead. Before I posted on Facebook, I contacted somebody because I tried to analyze whether we could fit in. Now, currently, our people are not on TPS because it's expired. Okay, so the inclusion we're talking about, they are not currently on TPS. But it's a case that can be made. Now, if TPS has expired, you have not been on TPS, and the president come and talking about extending TPS that he discontinued for other countries, and now giving 3 years extension to all African nationals, in his own words, okay, it leaves room. There was no room for negotiation. Somebody can be devil, but when they say something, you take something out of it and start to work with it. And the hope is coming from the fact that there is a room for negotiation, and we are going to tap into his statement of all African nationals to be able to make sure it actually represents all.
Okay, quick question.
So even if Liberia is not included, okay, Liberia will be included because we are part of Africa.
All right, quick question. You said you contacted somebody. Who is that person? Can we know?
No, it's okay. We I did because of the way we receive information. It's not a wise thing to disclose the person. Like for example, when the DED was giving that 12-month reprieve. We got the information first before it even got out. I sent it, Kiatamba and myself, we got the information. But we waited for it to get certain level before we put it out there. Why? Because, or else you will lose that relationship.
All right. So we hope to know that person one day. Yep, to you though, like Baramara said, have you reached out to other countries that are involved in this situation?
So I think Brother Amar asked a good question.
Yeah.
I think we got a larger coalition across the country.
Yeah.
Different groups are part of the coalition. At the last time, there was a coalition of different communities that are affected. We come on a national teleconference and discuss some of the strategies. And so we've always functioned as a coalition. Even at a local level in Minnesota, there's a coalition that he has. AIS is part of the coalition, OLM part of that coalition, because we can leverage all the different relationships and assets and connections and make things work. So I think we've done that. To the question of engaging our lawmakers, so they have made a commitment. The commitment says we support your cause.
Yeah, they have made a commitment, but the
Right.
question was, how many congressmen have you called?
So,
Do you know?
so we have engaged in the entire staff of all the Congress people.
Okay.
All of it.
All of them.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? Now, the second aspect is to say, because our request will change as the negotiation change.
Yep.
So tomorrow morning something else change, our request changes. But there's only a silver lining in the president's statement is to say, TPS, we're telling the Democrats, you go back. The president is clear about those on the current 300,000 people they're looking at. If you look at the current number of TPS, we cannot even fit in that 300,000. You got San Salvador, you got all, even Somalia is on the current TPS. Because the current TPS, Somalia, there are about 9 countries, 10 countries or so. So we do not fall that because the Ebola TPS was actually 5,000 people for Guinea, Liberia, and Sierra Leone.
Sierra Leone.
Almost. That was 2014 November to 2017 May. So that is the kind of number we have. So what we are saying to Democrats is that step up your game, especially the Minnesota congressional delegations. You have influence, you have power. Step up and tell us, say, look, include this in the negotiation.
Yeah.
When we were in Congress the last time, Paul Ryan told us, say, look, there's an ongoing negotiation. I will try to include your issues in the negotiation. Beyond the negotiations, there are 2 bills in Congress, one in the House and one in the Senate, that talk about permanent resident status for Liberians on DED. Now, we know that we don't have enough vote. So if a language covers us, that is good enough. If we got 3 years extension that Donald Trump is making, not for us, but if we can be included, then what's going to happen is that we can buy enough time and take the campaign to another level for a permanent resident status. So, but back to the community, I think the community need to step up. If you go to and say, who is my congressional person, the name will come up, call them and say, include Liberian. If they receive certain number of calls, they're required to respond. They're required to act.
Okay.
You understand? Connect with the local initiative to see how we can do it. Because this is not about us. This is critical. This is the 11th hour. This thing will go wrong. If Donald Trump pushes this stuff until the very last minute, these people will completely go out of status. And there are people who got cancer treatment, and because through their job, individually, they cannot own it.
Yeah.
They own DED. If their status go, the employer kick them out of their medical treatment, they are sent basically to a death camp. The other aspect is that.
So yeah, so yeah, we're gonna come in, but again, if you just join us, this topic is centered around DED and TPS today, and with me in the studio is Abdullah, Kiatamba, and Erasmus William. So let's run into politics a little bit, or quickly.
No one provide information.
Yeah, you will. I'll give you the chance once you answer that question. So last year, it was around April when the government of Liberia, had a press briefing by then Press Secretary Sam Manning. He came and said something on behalf of the president and the people of Liberia, thanking the embassy of the United States near Monrovia and also thanking President Donald J. Trump for all the good things that he has done, especially extending DED and TPS for Liberians. But then many criticized the government before then. They said the government did not put any effort into it. They did not step up. And they didn't come up to do anything until after the extension, they said something. This time around, we haven't heard anything from the administration. I don't know if you guys have, but we have not. So how supportive is this administration?
Okay.
Okay. Oh.
So quote me.
Yeah.
The president of the Republic of Liberia told me that he will support DED.
He will support. Is he supporting it though?
I come in. He will support whatever is required to help the process. I'm not saying the minister. I said the president
I know.
of Liberia told me directly. That's one. Two, last year, the president actually supported the process. So the State Department, they have a status report. So the country has to say, this is the nature of the problem. So we went to the ambassador of the United States in DC, all the advocates. Before that, we contacted the government and said, look, the protocol is to go through the ambassador, but we will do whatever it takes. It's helpful. And I think they communicated a lot of messages to the State Department about the importance of that.
All right.
So-
Quickly though, I think I just got a signal that we started late. We've run out of time. There is another crew coming in right after us, so we're gonna try to wrap this up. I know we did not discuss everything today due to the time factor. We will find another time to continue this discussion. Hopefully, we have a studio time next week. I don't know how available you guys will be, but if you can be available, we can just leave that with you guys. So we have an hour program to discuss more about this. So at least we get enough time to discuss next week if possible. But yeah, I'm very sorry for this, but we gotta go. So let's wrap it up and we can leave the room for the next crew.
So again, the government of Liberia has been very supportive. I just want to be clear. If you hear any other thing that the government is not supporting, the government has been supportive. I think our goal is to increase their role in this process. And I think what we asked for the Senate, we're asking Congress to do, we are asking the government of Liberia to send an official letter to the State Department. We're asking the new ambassador to engage the State Department and say the country does not have the capacity to absorb a massive influx of Liberians from the U.S. And it will create some humanitarian crisis. It will create some capacity challenges. And I think the government is committed to doing that.
Okay,
when they
thank
fail
you.
to do that's a different question. But lastly, I just want to say, I think this campaign can be won, and I still believe we will win.
All right, thank you. Yep, so quickly your information and
So
then
let
we
me,
are out.
yeah, let me wrap up again. What I wanted to say is that, like Kiatamba said, we have 2 bills in the House, one in the Senate, and one in the House of
House,
Representatives.
yeah.
So the one in the House of Representatives is called the HR 5072. Okay, it was submitted by Keith Allison, and just for your information, so you know, in Minnesota, what he named at the time.
Keith is not in the House
Keith is not
anymore,
in the
right?
House anymore, but
Okay.
we only had 2 representatives that actually signed onto this. That were Keith Allison and Eric Paulson.
And Paulson is
in
not in
Rhode
the House.
Island. Yeah, in Rhode Island, I'm just giving some number of so people
Yeah,
can
I just
know.
want to make sure.
In Rhode Island, we had only 2 representatives signed onto it. In California, 1 out of 53. Okay, in Illinois, 1 out of 18. Massachusetts, 1 out of 9. In New York, 1 out of 12. In New York, 1 out of 27. In Washington, 1 out of 10. In Wisconsin, 1 out of 8.
Okay.
This just tell you that we have a lot of work to do. If California have 53 representatives and you only have 1, so we need everybody across the country to get
right.
involved in this process.
Okay, and this brings us to the end of this program. I want to say thanks to all of you, especially those who made their ways to come here today to watch this program. We know it is very cold out there. There are football games going on. Everybody want to stay home to enjoy those. This is all about fun. Thank you so much for being here with us today. Thank you, Mr. Kiatamba. Thank you, Erasmus. We appreciate you guys. Hopefully, we can see all of you guys next week, and
We'll
we can
be
have
back here
more
next
fun.
week to
Let's be here next week, please.
on the rally.